This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're gonna be typing somebody for one of our server boosters, David Pro MLG. He has suggested Larry Fink. If you don't know, he is the CEO of BlackRock, right? A lot of people say BlackRock owns the world. So it's gonna be interesting to find his personality type. Me and Zara are sick of hearing people cry about, oh my God, he types everybody INTJ. Basically, this guy's a nobody, and so he's most likely not gonna be. But you guys know we use Lindebrand's interaction styles and Tiffany combined with cognitive functions. We do list all those out on the channel. If you go to how to find anyone's personality type, if you want to be more involved with us, you got to join our Discord. I think it's going to be one of the biggest and hottest places in the future. Definitely, you want to say you got there before we got to 1,000 members. So maybe you can say that you're one of those OG members. By the time we get like 10,000 members, 20,000 members, you like, I was here before we had 1,000, man. But if you want more hands-on experience with us and the way that we type, you can join our Demigod Dojo. Well, we have everything listed out. We also have people that can test you on your knowledge and then also tweak things that you miss here and there. It's a wonderful thing. But if you want somebody for us to type, you definitely got to join Discord and you got to boost the server. I do love the comments, and sometimes I will react to current media to get more people acclimated to type. But generally, I'm not going to be typing people from the comments. Sorry, not sorry. Zara, what you want to say about Mr. Fink here, Mr. Finky Dink?
Uh, well, I mean, he's made it impossible for people to buy a home in the future. Um,
Yeah, you know what's funny? They're doing the fucking I'm part of that with the stocks and shit. It's called rent.
yeah,
They
yeah,
build to rent. They call build to rent homes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, he owns BlackRock, and yeah,
Oh, he's CEO.
it,
I don't know if he owns.
he- he's the CEO of BlackRock, and I don't know. He's just accountable to his shareholders and stakeholders. That's it. And
Yeah.
it's it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just look yeah, I just was looking at the dummy base.
Yeah. What's his net worth? Do you know?
I could look it up real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead and look up his net
Oh,
worth.
let me yeah, yeah, and I just looked him up on the dummy base, INTJ.
Yeah, they have him as INTJ. Got
Uh
personality dumb base has him as an INTJ. With 142 votes overall.
what his net worth is 1.3 billion. Okay.
They're doing pretty fucking good.
Not bad.
Okay, they got him as INTJ, ladies and gentlemen. So if you guys are not aware, Mercer will tell you, INTJs are direct, they're responding, their progression, journey, focus. Shit, I should probably go over these metrics, but or whatever. Um, they are pragmatic, they're systematic, they're abstract, they're TEFI, and they're SENI. And someone told me, "Hey, Mercer, can you make it easier for us to understand what you're saying?" So when we're saying direct, it's does this person control um, the information, right? Are they saying more closed-ended statements, right? Are they specific, concise, and to the point? Are they like not leaving extra information out there? They're not giving extra information. They're not passive. They're not wordy. They're not playing Blues Clues where you have to decode what the fuck someone's saying, right? That's more in the informative realm, right? They want people informing people want people to buy in, right? Direct people just want to tell you what the fuck to do, right? Then you have initiating versus responding, right? Is somebody extrovert or are they introvert, right? If you're an introvert, the information travels to the back of your brain and then you respond. So that's just the mechanism. How suggest you pick up Dario's work if you want to get more involved in the brain and type. And then you have initiating, which is more of the frontal lobe, right? The information takes a shorter route, so they can respond a lot quicker. a lot more efficiently, right? And then you have process versus outcome. Does the person care about the journey, right? Do they believe if I subscribe to the best process, I'll get the outcome? You know, sometimes they can get so lost in the process that they forget about the fucking outcome, okay? And then they just like, wa la la. Some people just like to get involved into a process. That's will be your starter type. They just like to get involved in a process and get moving. Generally speaking, they care more about movement, but you know, they need to focus on making sure they actually are moving forward because a lot of them move laterally, right? And then you have outcome or control, right? So they're more looking at the destination of everything, right? They are eyes on the prize, the end product. Everything they do is to the product, right? And they will control things to get there, right? Then you have pragmatic versus affiliative, right? Pragmatic means you're more of a utilitarian mindset. The ends justify the means. You're more about autonomy. You're more likely to think rules are subjective, right? And then you have the affiliative people who are more about cooperation, independence, coming together, doing what's right for everybody. You know, the collective, right? And then you got structure versus motive, or systematic versus interest. Basically, a systematic person is always looking at things from a systematic point of view. Like, okay, here's the system. All right, if I change this or build this system, then I will get this result. They're more forced to look at the system behind things. Like if they're playing a video game or something, they're like, okay, what's the system here? Like, how can I destroy the system to get what I want? You'll see that, or what can I do there? That's their first line of thinking. Then you have the motive of interest, right? These people feel way more comfortable when they know what they're getting out of the situation, right? When everything is outlined, like I get this, you get this, you know, they know that up front, then they're, you know, ecstatic about that. They are more of that, or they're a lot of times the NFs could try to piece in the psychological interest of people, or motive. You'll see that. Then you have concrete versus abstract. That's basically, you know, somebody more about the past or the present or the what is, while somebody else is kind of digging deeper, right? They're looking about the what if, you know, what could be, you know, this is possible, anything's possible. Those type of guys, right? We've seen them. And then you have the TEFI, right? TE is about evaluating, and FI is about judging, if I had to say, in two words, right? They're gonna be more, TE is more about empirical data. They're on the axis together. So if it's the TE, it's also FI. It's on the axis together, ladies and gentlemen. FI is more about what's important to the person, what they value, what they are praising, right? And then TIFE, I just call it understanding, right? One's understanding people, the other one is understanding things. They break TI breaks things down from the principle and builds up. They got to know how everything individually works, right? They build these if this then that principles. And then FE is just understanding the group, the social norms, how other people feel. Then you have SENI. So SE is more about like being in the moment, noticing things around you in the environment, making sure that you, when they recant stories, it's more about what other people are doing, right? Because they're noticing what's in the environment and what's objectively there, right? NI is about, you know, foreseeing, envisioning what will be, what's the vision for yourself. Also, synthesization, right? So they synthesize things from a lot to a little, right? A lot to a little. You'll see that a lot with them, right? They're also always forecasting shit, bro. Oh, this will happen, or what's behind this, you know? Then you have SINE. SI is more about your own internal subjective experience, right? That's something that, like, you know, other people can't account for, right? If you're saying, "Hey, I'm cold," shit, I'm hot. What the fuck you mean? Um, but they're gonna be more self-referencing, okay? You can get more I statements, and then you have NE. NE is all about connections, patterns, brainstorming, what could be. All right, guys. So I gave you guys a quick rundown of all of that, and in the videos we will be attacking those to see what's really going on, what are they using, how are they coming out of that in their speech. Right. We'll try to use me and Zara will try to use words that you guys are familiar with, because we're trying to lower the barrier of entry into type. Right, Zara?
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like I've been talking for too fucking long.
the phenomenal business of BlackRock. He had a meeting with an advisory firm called Greenwich Associates. And as I remember, what their advice was, as was told to me afterwards, was the world doesn't need another fixed income investment firm.
Go back to your office.
Go back to your office. Now, by the way, he'd already left the office, so there was no going back. What a testament to his conviction and foresight. And for those of you that don't know, the name BlackRock actually comes from his original investment from Blackstone, which was an incredibly cheap deal from that standpoint here right now. But what a fascinating bit of history.
Holy shit, did he build BlackRock?
Yeah,
Oh
I
shit.
think so.
Yeah, I thought it was like, something that has existed and they were just like,
No,
doing
I
this
think he
thing.
built it.
Oh shit, fuck. Well, I take back what I said.
The largest asset
Yeah.
manager in the world and a very, very significant private placement and equity manager in the form of Blackstone. Unbelievable. Larry was the youngest managing director at First Boston, which was a clear indication of the trajectory that he was on. Today, he's named as one of Time's 100 most influential folks in the world. And he's here to share his unique perspectives in terms of leadership, his career themes, and the incredible journey that he has gone through to create what I saw yesterday in your earnings was $12.5 trillion under management, which is just a stunning number to think about in terms of the zeros. At the end of the conversation today, please submit your questions on Slido, but let's get into it here right now because this is a very, very special person that we have here today, and we're privileged to have you here, Larry. Let's start out. You grew up in LA, and you were the son of an English professor and a shoe store owner. Great origins. But how did this upbringing, from your standpoint, impact your early worldview and ultimately your approach to problem solving and risk taking, which you have become preeminent from a world standpoint?
Well, it's great to be here at Citi. Thank you for our partnership. Your partnership has been vital for our growth since we started
Partnership has been vital for our growth. That's
Progression.
37 years ago.
Possibly.
I would say the history between BlackRock and Citi, BlackRock and Salomon Brothers was pretty pivotal. And so, you are a part of our roots, and the strength of our organization is because of the relationship we've had with Citi all these years.
Thank you.
I would say that's more affiliative there, but
It's hard to tell.
it's hard to tell there. But I would say that I would err on the side of that sounds a little bit more affiliative.
I had wonderful
Yeah.
parents. They were socialists. They were very progressively minded. They focused on a couple key characteristics. Academics was important there. They were quite frustrated with me versus my siblings who were more academically inclined at the younger ages. But more importantly, they really pushed personal responsibility.
SI.
They were always about taking your own personal responsibility. Don't rely on other people. And importantly, my mother kept on saying, if your adult life is screwed up, don't blame your parents. It's on you. You got to take that personal responsibility. And my parents were helpful on that journey of personal responsibility. But they were worried about me, unlike they were worried about my siblings. And so I was asked to work at the shoe store from 10 years old on. And that actually created an incredible journey of how to connect and relate to your clients. So you learned really early on how to communicate, how to sell something. And today it's, I think for young kids, they didn't work that young anymore. They don't work and I think it was a very good journey. And I was, quite immature for my age. So I needed that type of, I guess, stability and pathway.
SI.
I would say if my parents were here, they would say I finally got my shit in order, probably when I was about 15. It took that long for me to really try to develop a more purposeful life.
And then you went on and you got an MBA at UCLA, but you took that MBA and you came where you and I first met in what I would have called a stodgy white shoe Wall Street firm at the time, the First Boston Corporation. How did that sort of West Coast academic background help you as you transformed yourself into a leader in a very, very old line firm?
Well, the first time I ever saw snowfall was his interview in New York in January of 1976.
SI.
SI. So I'm getting direct and SINE, guys. I feel
Yes.
pretty good with direct here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead,
Yeah.
knock off direct. Well, go ahead and circle direct because he's direct. He is direct. Okay. And yeah, we'll go with that. And look like SINE here.
Yeah.
So with being direct and
That
SINE. So
can't be INTJ.
these are the informative types, right? These are the informative types, right? So they're gone because he's direct, right? And then we have SINE, so we can kill all of these guys.
Hmm.
Oh shit. And we can kill all of these guys. So we're down to STJ here. I
Yes.
think we got an ESTJ here, but he
Maybe.
he did say some what you call it, but I'm more inclined with ESTJ here.
Yeah.
I was a true West Coast kid, turquoise jewelry, long hair, kind of mostly brown suits then. But I was attracted to First Boston among all the different firms that I interviewed with. They offered a more personalized training program for me. And I really felt connected to a couple of the leaders on the trading floor who I interviewed with. And they wanted me to go right into trading. It was one of the few people then that when I started the organization, I had a pathway already determined. It was not going through the true.
So that's an E here. There's already a pathway set up for him from somebody
Hmm.
else, right? He doesn't have to figure out the path for himself.
Training program.
Right.
And let's be clear now, the incoming class at First Boston in 1976 was 14 people. I mean, people really don't understand the context of what Wall Street was then. The sum of all the capital, and I'm talking about Goldman Sachs, Loeb Rhodes, Kuhn Loeb, Lehman Brothers,
TE.
White Weld, Merrill Lynch.
You get more TE here.
The sum of all, and I'm not talking about the bank, so the sum of all the Wall Street firms was probably capital-wise $200 million.
So, guys, if you're following us and you're new here, when we say TE, he's talking about extroverted thinking here. He's talking about the numbers, right? He's talking about the conglomerate. He's not talking about individually what's going on here. He's talking about the sum, right? The numbers.
He
So
and
T,
also he's name dropping
yeah.
firms. That's would be considered TE,
And
just to clarify.
the reason why it's TE is because of TE users really care about names, accreditations, validation,
Labels.
labels and stuff of that nature. So they're more likely to throw them out. Boom, 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 boom. I know you all probably have a homeboy who, when he goes to the club, he's always name dropping somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, people just have no idea how cottage industry, the investment banking side, because historically, they really took no risk.
So historically, in SI,
Yes, sorry.
FI users really don't take much risk, right? They go with the chosen path that's already been done, like banking and stuff like that, and like just think about bubble gum, like when you think about SI, right? Bubble gum's gonna be here tomorrow. It's gonna be 100 years from now. It's gonna be here 2,000 years from now. Bubble gum's gonna be here, man. That's SI.
Having a
Hmm.
large balance sheet was not necessary until really starting in 76 and 80, where the balance sheets just blossomed and ballooned. But I felt connected to the people, so it wasn't a matter of whether it was white shoes stodgy, which it certainly was. But I felt connected to the people. It was very clear that they believed in a meritocracy, and I was attracted to that. And I remember even the first 2 months on the job on the trading floor, it was very clear to me that I could do this. It was something that I became very excited about. And then, right after the training program was over, they asked me to go into the mortgage department, and the mortgage security department then was 3 people. And it was, but being there at the genesis of what became one of the largest markets in the world was really.
Well, you were a pioneer.
The largest markets in the world, TEFI, extroverted thinking, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
In that market, along with a very famous alumnus of Citi, Lou Ranieri.
Yeah.
And you were there to create the mortgage-backed market.
Right.
This was the exact beginning of that time.
Right.
What did that experience tell you about your understanding of finance and risk? Because it was the early securitizations. This was the infancy of the business.
Well, what really transformed Wall Street was having a personal computer on your desk. I mean, before that, you had a Monroe calculator, or you had what is it,
HP 12C.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, that's all you had. But in 1983, the mortgage department was able to get a couple PCs on the desk, and having our own, very modest technology by any standards today, we were able then to, think about how can you take these pools of different mortgages, and then how can you recalculate the cash flow characteristics of those pools.
So that's all TE there, guys. That is extroverted thinking. Those are numbers that can be measured and calculated. That's TE, right? If he was talking about inside his own thinking, that'd be TI. But he's talking about things that he can measure and things of that nature. So it's TEFI, guys.
And that began the whole securitization process by having the ability.
And when he's saying process here, he's talking about the system. So, sometimes be careful with that. That is one thing that tripped me up when I was a lot more naive than typing.
To take large data at that time and then reorient
More
the cash
tea.
flows.
Without a lot of computing power, because a lot of it was
virtually
done.
nothing.
As you remember, we were doing things by hand with a piece of paper.
Yeah, but also the interest rate swap.
Remember
the whole area, derivatives, was created because you started having technology on the trading floor. And that really transformed Wall Street. And then you were able to do, and let's be clear, the sell side was so much more advanced than the buy side. And that's really a major genesis of BlackRock.
Which we'll come back to, because you raised a very important point that I was about to touch on, and that is you've openly spoken about your $100 million loss at First Boston as a pivotal moment in your career, and you just talked about the capital in the business. I remembered very well, as a young kid there. What were the most unexpected lessons that you took out of it? And there was the obvious lesson of risk management and all the rest of it, but what insights came out of that you really didn't expect that actually probably shaped your leadership at BlackRock? Because it was pivotal for you.
So let's just go to the pathway. You mentioned that I became the youngest managing director in the firm. That was at 27 years old.
Correct.
At 31, I was in the exco of the firm.
We getting TE and outcome.
And at 34, I became an asshole. And that was the
path.
that was the bad moment. Yeah,
that was the path.
Probably the most important thing for me was
probably the most important thing for me. So that is introverted feeling, because he's talking about what's important to him, right? Not what's important to you. And when he was talking about feeling connected to the people, being affiliated, feeling that.
They spoke about. It's all about the team. And you're part of the team when you make a lot of money. And we probably should have been fired for the amount of money we made.
Yep.
Because
it's about the
amount of risk we took to make that.
Affiliative, and that's TE, and that's outcome.
Yeah.
That money. So as you know, in 84 and 85, we were the most profitable department in the firm. First quarter.
More TE, right? Most profitable on the firm, outcomes.
We made even a record amount of money. In the second quarter of 1986, we lost.
Record. We going to TE. He's going to spend it. He's going to spend
$1 million.
He's in TE spam mode.
And so a bunch of lessons. I knew the way the firm.
So now he's getting real direct. A, B, C, bullet points, right? Very direct, right? Very direct in TE. A, B, C.
Treated me and the team I knew right then and there I was going to leave. It took then a year and a half later to decide what I was going to do, but it broke the connectivity between me and the firm where it wasn't about team. It was about, I did not feel I had the support of 80% of the firm when we lost money. And this whole concept of partnership and team really broke down in my mind.
You see, the belonging, the cooperation is breaking down, right? Right. So,
but two, the greatest lesson learned was, as much as I thought we knew what we were doing, as much as I believed I had the right group of investors, we did not evolve our thoughts with the markets. And assumptions that we made was, as you said, the relationship we had with Solomon then, and our competitive nature with Lou and Solomon Brothers we got ahead of ourselves in ego on trying to build market share. One quarter, First Boston was the leader in the securitization process. Next was Solomon Brothers, and back and forth. Lou was fired a year before over the same nonsense, and there was another good example. I didn't learn my lesson about what happened to Lou. But I never forgave myself, not, once again, taking personal responsibility. I never was comfortable with my actions.
Right, never comfortable with his actions, SI, right? SI is going to talk about discomfort, right? That's their own personal subjective experience. No one can validate that.
And I blamed myself that we did not adapt and grow our risk management tools. And I should have been pounding the table that we can't take on these positions. I can't take the firm's capital. The firm said, here's more capital. You did so well. Take more capital. And the firm had no idea the risk we were taking, nor did we, because we did not have the proper risk tools. And I would say the ashes of my failure.
So what he's saying here is, a lot of times you can grow too fast. And if you grow too fast, you can also blow yourself up. It happens quite a bit, like especially with if you follow stocks and stuff. When that revenue gets too ahead of itself, sometimes it can fuck up, man. So you gotta be careful with that. You gotta slowly, a lot of times you gotta slowly progress up. You can't just voila,
Sustainable scalability.
You just it'll make you blow up.
Failure at First Boston was a fertilizer of BlackRock.
What that really gets into, because you then ended up making what in hindsight is one of the most entrepreneurial moves of the last 40 years, in fairness. What drove you to actually say, you know what, we can do this? I still remember the partners that you took with you. You took the core group of people, actually was sitting 2 offices down, you all got together and that was it.
Yeah.
What drove you to say this is going to work, especially given the skepticism and what you'd gone through on a personal basis?
Well, no, I lost a lot of self-confidence over that whole process. That being said, as I said, it took a year and a half for me to move my career forward. And I had offers to become partners at various Wall Street firms, and it did not feel like that was the right pathway for me. I did not want to repeat and do the same thing. And I started investigating the whole concept of going on the buy side. But quite frankly, I had 2 very important clients who was going to fund me to start the company, and I did not have the confidence in doing it myself. And I started talking to Steve Schwarzman then.
Remember?
First Boston was a firm that raised Blackstone.
Right. You remember that we did Blackstone 1.
Blackstone won 525 or 545 million.
Correct, which I think caused some people to be totally shocked that he was able to do it.
Yep, but I helped raise. Because of the relationships we had with all the savings and loans, a good part of the capital came from the savings and loans.
Correct.
And so I got to know Steve and Pete through the process when Bruce Wasserstein said, he's a friend, can you help raise money?
Yeah. And he sent me over there to go clean up.
Yes. So we did that, and I started talking to Steve, and they were very intrigued. And actually, Steve had more confidence in me than I did, and I became the 4th partner of the Blackstone group to start this idea. And as you said, I was able to bring the weekend after I resigned. I had an open house at my house, and I don't know, about 60, 70 people came over. Most of them wanted to understand what was my next venture, and I was able to
Any.
pick and choose who
Hmm.
should be part of it. And quite frankly, I told a few people, I said, you're the solution when I leave. You should stay on. You're
Yep.
going to have, your career's going to get better without me here. And
Well, the firm actually fractured at the time. Some people going one place, some people staying
yeah,
behind. But it was pretty profound because you think about,
So what I'm noticing here is it seems as though TE is the top here, and then SI is below it, right?
Yeah.
Funneling from the TE to the SI, right? Not the other way around to SI to the TE, right? Right.
I will say he has integrated some process into his thinking,
Yeah,
but
he is. Yes. I mean, what do you expect, bro? Like, like
yeah,
you both to be successful in life. You can't just
yeah,
like be purely one.
yeah,
what you went through, which was, when you think about the capital of the firm was a big deal.
yep.
In fact, I think we had to sell the one building to recoup part of the capital base, Tower 49. But you had a front row seat, though, as we go years later. You became the preeminent risk manager in the world. And you went through a variety of different areas where you were the one people turned to. So let's go on to the financial crisis. You and BlackRock had a very significant role advising the US government and the financial crisis. BlackRock advised on the TARP program, on the rescue of Bear Stearns, and the AIG restructuring. What factors kind of led to you being the one picked? Was Aladdin technology an important part of it? Because you were way early in that. What?
100%. No, I mean, as I said, when we started the firm with 8 people, two of the people, so two of the people were technologists. And another change in technology, for $25,000, which was a lot of money back then, we were able to buy one Sun Spark workstation. And it was just, the Sun Spark workstation was just released in 1988. I mean, and that was infinitely more powerful than any PC at that time. And but having that allowed us then to start developing our own risk tools at BlackRock. And so the whole foundation of the organization was the building tools that help us navigate clients' portfolios.
TE.
And it became an integral part. I would say the culture of BlackRock is so embedded in this risk technology. And so the whole foundation of the firm from day one was to develop the risk tools. Because as I said, I'm not going to live my life again like that.
So that was part of the lesson that was imprinted in your brain.
Yeah. And
You didn't have those tools.
right. And so we,
TE, learning from the past, SI, TE, SI, TE, SI.
and then in
Yeah, I'm not gonna draw this shit out. ESTJ.
yeah,
All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ESTJ, David, he's the ESTJ. You got some interesting picks, bro. I would say out of all the people, man, you probably have the most interesting people to type. They're never usually the same. Like sometimes you throw us an INTJ, sometimes you throw us an ISTJ. Yeah. So even though he's not initiating there, ESTJs can be like that, where they just sit in a very controlled stance and demeanor. Yeah. So outcome, right? He's more focused on the end product. That's the bottom line of TE is just the end product. It's kind of it's just that's in the name of the game for TE. Like we ain't getting these metrics done, we ain't getting this shit done, then everything else fucking sucks. Okay. If we ain't meeting these TE, all of a sudden you wondering why you don't feel so great about yourself. Right. But again, any TFI user is going to be attached to what they're getting done a lot of times, right? A lot of the self-worth. But I will say in general, people's self-worth come from their functions. Are their functions working cohesively together? If not, your self-worth may not be there. So he's not fucking, what am I doing here? He's not pragmatic. I am in la la land here. So why didn't you say something? He's affiliative, right? He's talking about cooperation, he's
yeah.
talking about team building, he's talking about all that
Structure,
shit.
and then structure, and then concrete, and then
Um,
TEFI.
yeah.
Um,
We didn't get any. I don't think we got an abstract statement out of him.
No,
But it's all good, man. It helps us. So
not a
TFI,
single abstract statement.
very concrete. Um, so yeah, Larry Fink is ESTJ here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God, they didn't type somebody fucking INTJ. Oh my God. Jesus Christ, crybabies. They don't understand that we actually evaluate what the fuck we see here. So ESTJ, what are we thinking here? 1, 3, 6, which one?
I mean, probably three, I'm guessing.
3. It's gotta be SP. No, SO, right?
Yeah.
3W2? Because he's talking about
Yeah.
the team.
3W2.
He's talking about the team a little too much.
Yeah.
SO slash
Yeah.
SP. Sexually blind. Okay, subtype here. What are we thinking? ND,
Uh,
DN,
um,
DN,
ND.
ND,
Yeah. She's, yeah, ND.
ND.
Um, I would say above average
Yeah, he's above average.
for sure.
Okay. So this guy's actually pretty well developed there. Larry Fink
Yes.
there. He's charting into above average, to above average.
He's
He's on the
turning
road.
into prodigy.
Yeah, yeah. He's going there. His development's there. He's older. That's what we got for Larry Fink here. He is the CEO of BlackRock, and what he was talking about there is happens to a lot of STJs once they're hired in a company. They don't think about innovation, right? They're past focus, right? So if you hire a lot of them, then it's going to stifle your innovation. But what they do very well is they stabilize a situation, right? They're going to be the ones to check the books. They're going to be the ones to do all that type of stuff, right? So you'll see companies, they'll usually start with a CEO, who like companies that are like tech or whatever, they'll usually start with maybe ENTP, INTP, or INTJ or ENTJ, and then slowly but surely as the company grows, they hire too many ESTJs and ISTJs, and the company will hit stagnation. Stag, right? Because they're focused on the past, right? And stabilizing shit. So they'll just keep stabilizing and stabilizing, stabilizing on top of stabilizing. But you do have to move with the times, or you can have the same thing that happened to Kodak happen to you, right? If you're not growing, that can happen. Kodak was one of the biggest companies in 1980, and what is Kodak now? Trash, right? So you gotta be careful with that. You gotta be ready to innovate, but you gotta also be careful with innovating because you could take on um, some unnecessary risks. But that's part of the game. Is there anything you want to say before you get out of here?
I mean, I think he just was basically demonstrating how to about scalability, right? And more importantly, sustainable growth
Hmm.
over a long period of time. And that's what he's really good at,
Hmm.
Larry Fink. And he did innovate in terms of the tools and approaches he used, and he was adaptable in that sense. And if you could glean anything away from this is adapting to certain situations and anticipating for future market trends and using tools to optimize for better results in the future.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't seen our ESTJ breakdown, highly recommend looking at that. But here, I will also comment on the functions here between the ISTJ and the ESTJ. The ESTJ is more adaptable, right? They have that NE in the child slot,
Hmm.
which makes them more likely to see different perspectives, change their game. And then with that, they can use TE and stuff like that. They're going to be more out there with the NE, right? As opposed to the ISTJ, they're more into the SI, right? If you haven't been following us, the hero function, contrary to everyone's belief, is very unconscious to people, very unconscious, to the point that it fucks up your life a lot of times because it's you don't even notice that the influence that it has over you, but it
Hmm.
does have a sense of decision in everything you do, right? It's there. It's gonna show its ugly head, um, even when you don't think it's there. Okay, buddy's got you, right? He is your god, if in one way to another, right? Um, or you're Goku. We like Goku. And your inferior function is like Gohan. You're always fucking up, right? But guys, we'll catch you guys on the next one. This is Mongolian Mindset, and thank you, David, for this one. We're fucking out. Peace.